Hey there. Let's be completely honest with each other. A few months ago, you probably had a grand vision for this summer. Maybe you were picturing yourself sipping an espresso at a sidewalk cafe in Paris, or taking a high-speed train through the Japanese countryside. It was going to be the summer you finally checked off that massive bucket list international trip. Then, you actually clicked Search Flights, and reality hit like a bucket of ice water. If you feel like you've been priced out of the skies this year, you are absolutely not alone. Welcome back to the Frugal Traveler. Right now, we are witnessing one of the biggest disruptions to summer vacation habits in a generation. I hit this wall myself just a few weeks ago. I was planning a trip across the Atlantic, sat down with my morning coffee, opened up a flight aggregator, and literally gasped at the screen. Economically, the cost of just getting across the ocean has transformed international travel from a standard family vacation into a luxury asset class. But here's the fascinating twist. We aren't unpacking our bags and staying home. Instead, everyday travelers are completely changing the game. We are closing the airline tabs, opening up our mapping tools, and looking inward. To understand exactly how this shift is playing out, you only have to look at a regular reader of our community, a high school teacher named Sarah from Ohio. For the past 2 years, Sarah and her husband saved up every spare dollar to take their 2 kids to Italy for summer 2026. They did everything right. They budgeted, they cut back on dining out, and they tracked points. But when it came time to lock in their flights, the math simply broke. Because main cabin economy seats were almost entirely sold out, they were looking at premium economy options. 4 round-trip tickets from Ohio to Rome were going to cost them nearly $8,000, and that was before booking a single hotel room, pasta dinner, or train pass. Their entire vacation budget was completely depleted before they even left the tarmac. Sarah told me she sat at her kitchen table, completely defeated, ready to call off summer entirely. But then, she did something a majority of Americans are doing right now. She decided to ground the vacation, grab the keys, and map out a domestic journey that turned out to be more rewarding than she ever expected. The macroeconomics of the skies. To understand why Sarah, and millions of travelers just like her, are getting grounded this summer, we have to look past the booking sites and look at the actual economics of aviation in 2026. Because this isn't just standard inflation or summer peak pricing. What we are experiencing right now is a fundamental structural shift in how commercial airlines operate. The first and most volatile culprit is jet fuel. Over the past year, shifting global dynamics and supply chain bottlenecks have caused global fuel refining margins to surge. When it costs an airline significantly more just to fill the tanks of a wide-body plane, that cost gets passed directly to your credit card. On an ultra-long-haul flight across the Atlantic or Pacific, fuel can represent up to 40% of the total operating cost of that aircraft. When fuel spikes, international tickets react instantly. But there is an even bigger factor at play here, and it's a deliberate strategy by the airlines, the death of the cheap international economy seat. Over the last few years, major carriers realized where their real profit margins live. It's not in selling a cheap basic economy ticket to a college student backpacking through Europe. The real money is in premium economy, business class, and loyalty tier luxury travel. As a result, airlines have been aggressively retrofitting their international fleets. They are removing rows of standard economy seats to make room for larger premium pods and extended business class sections. By reducing the total number of economy seats available on international routes, the remaining main cabin seats become scarce commodities. Airlines can charge double what they used to for the exact same square footage in the back of the plane. When you add it all up, sky-high fuel surcharges, fewer economy seats, and unfavorable foreign exchange rates, the financial barrier to entry for international travel has simply become too high for the average household budget. For a family of 4, an overseas vacation used to require diligent saving. In 2026, it competes directly with major home renovations or multi-year financial goals. And that is exactly why the sky is losing its luster, and the asphalt is calling. The great drive-in tourism boom. So, if the skies are priced out, where is everyone going? The answer is right outside your front door, sitting in your driveway. We are officially in the middle of the Great American Road Trip Revival. National travel surveys for summer 2026 show that a staggering 85% of Americans planning a vacation this year are choosing to drive rather than fly. We haven't seen numbers like this in decades, but the motivation today is completely different. This isn't about a shortage of options. It's a conscious, calculated pivot toward financial sanity and personal freedom. Think about the math for a second. If you bypass the airport, you instantly eliminate the single largest line item on your travel budget. There are no baggage fees for packing an extra bag. There is no dynamic pricing charging you triple because you decided to travel on a Friday instead of a Tuesday. Look at how this is playing out on the ground. Instead of flying to tropical islands, travelers are rediscovering stunning geography right at home. In the West, regional routes like the loops cutting through the Tonto National Forest and around the historic Roosevelt Dam are seeing a massive surge in drive-in tourism, where families can experience dramatic canyon vistas and massive engineering marvels for the cost of a tank of gas. Meanwhile, over on the East Coast, the classic Blue Ridge Parkway has become a primary vacation corridor for the Midwest and South, with travelers trading expensive resort stays for multi-day mountain drives. What makes this summer even more incredible is the convergence of major historic milestones. With early preparations for America's 250th anniversary ramping up alongside the Route 66 Centennial Countdown, heritage-focused road trips have absolutely skyrocketed. And don't mistake this for a compromise. The 2026 road trip isn't the stressful, cramped highway slog you might remember from your childhood. It has been completely re-engineered by modern technology and a shift in mindset. Instead of trying to break speed records to get to a single destination, travelers are turning the journey into the vacation. EV charging networks have expanded massively along major tourism corridors, making long-distance electric road trips more viable than ever, especially if you use apps like PlugShare to map out free community chargers or off-peak charging rates to avoid midday utility surges. Route planning apps have evolved too, allowing drivers to skip the monotonous interstates and curate custom paths based on historical landmarks, roadside diners, and scenic detours. When you control the vehicle, you control the clock. If you see an interesting brown sign pointing toward a historic heritage site or a local farm stand, you don't have to worry about missing a boarding call. You just signal right, turn the wheel, and explore. By shifting the focus from the destination to the route, travelers are discovering that some of the best experiences happen in the spaces between the map dots. The asphalt isn't just a way to get somewhere anymore. In 2026, the road is the destination. Chasing living history. But skipping the international flight doesn't mean Americans are watering down their vacation expectations. Far from it. The real magic of this summer travel pivot isn't just how people are traveling. It's what they are doing when they get there. We are seeing a massive explosion in experiential domestic tourism. Travelers are completely rejecting the old school, passive sightseeing vacation where you just stare at a monument through a bus window. Instead, they want active, immersive stories. They want to connect deeply with regional history, local cultures, and distinct ecosystems right here in their own backyard. And local tour operators have stepped up to fill that exact demand. The data backs this up perfectly. Industry reports from major hospitality groups highlight that instead of flocking to overhyped, crowded international hotspots, travelers are heavily favoring secondary and tertiary domestic markets that offer depth and active participation. Cities like Asheville, North Carolina, and Kansas City, Missouri are seeing massive surges because passive entertainment is losing ground to hands-on cultural immersion. I leaned into this heavily myself recently. Instead of traveling abroad to look at ancient ruins, I decided to dive into the incredible tapestry of early American history right here. I booked a regional heritage loop that took me through old colonial trailways and historic encampments, specifically focusing on the gripping stories of the Revolutionary era. I spent an afternoon walking through a beautifully preserved historic site, tracking the footsteps of the Continental Army during their pivotal 1777 to 1778 winter encampment at Valley Forge, standing on the ground where George Washington and his soldiers held the line, guided by a local historian who made the high-stakes endurance of those men feel incredibly immediate. It hit me with a level of emotion that no crowded European museum ever could. This shift to experiential travel is a massive win for everyone involved. For the traveler, it delivers the exact same sense of discovery and cultural enrichment as an overseas trip, but at a fraction of the cost. And for small, historic American towns, this influx of mindful, curious road trippers is pouring vital revenue directly into local businesses, independent museums, and artisan shops. People are realizing that you don't need a foreign visa to experience a completely different world. The Frugal Traveler Playbook for Summer 2026. All right, so we've established the reality. Flying overseas right now is a massive financial hurdle, and the real magic this summer is happening on the open road. But let's be practical. Just because you're planning a domestic road trip doesn't mean it automatically fits into a tight budget. If you aren't careful, rising gas prices, premium highway lodging, and food costs can drain your bank account just as fast as an airline ticket. To make sure your summer travel plans stay truly frugal without sacrificing the experience, you need a smart strategy. This is the Frugal Traveler Playbook for hacking summer 2026. Step 1. Fuel arbitrage and efficiency. Fuel is going to be your single largest expense on a road trip this season. But you can beat the system by planning your fill-ups around state lines to exploit differences in state fuel excise taxes. I live out in the desert Southwest, and I see this constantly. If you are driving across the region, filling up your tank in Arizona rather than crossing the state border into California can save you upwards of 70 cents to $1 per gallon, purely because of California's strict environmental fees and higher state taxes. Multiply that across a 2,000-mile road trip, and that strategy alone keeps hundreds of dollars in your pocket. Use apps like Gas Buddy or Upside to map out your fuel stops before you even turn the key. And here is a quick pro tip on pacing. Slow down just a little bit on the highway. Every 5 miles per hour you drive over 50 miles per hour is the economic equivalent of paying an extra 20 to 30 cents more per gallon at the pump due to aerodynamics and aerodynamic drag. Is getting to the next town 5 minutes faster really worth throwing money out the window? Step 2. The midweek pivot and lodging downgrade. Because 85% of Americans are hitting the highways this summer, standard road trip accommodations, like boutique roadside motels and historic inns, are experiencing massive weekend surges. If you check in on a Friday and check out on a Sunday, you are paying peak premium rates. However, if you shift your entire itinerary by just 48 hours, traveling from Tuesday to Thursday, those exact same properties often drop their rates by 30 to 50%. To double down on lodging hacks, look for highly rated 3-star boutique hotels or serviced apartments over generic 4-star resorts. In 2026, the unique character and amenities are practically identical, but the 3-star alternative frequently includes a kitchenette. Being able to prep just one basic meal or breakfast a day at home saves a family of $400 over a week-long trip. Track these shifting prices using automated price drop monitoring tools like Hotel Slash. If the rate drops before your flexible cancellation window closes, simply rebook and pocket the difference. Step 3. The Hyperlocal Bundle and Resort Passing. When you arrive in these surging secondary drive-to-markets, skip the major global third-party booking apps for your excursions. Instead, head straight to the local visitor bureau website. Because of the domestic travel boom this year, regional tourism boards are partnering with independent businesses to offer heavily discounted heritage passes or culture cards. For a single, low-flat fee, these bundles grant you access to local historical loops, guided tours, and regional tasting trails that would cost double if purchased individually. And if you still want that taste of luxury without the $500 a night price tag, use apps like Resort Pass or Dayax. You can buy a day pass to a luxury resort's premium pools, cabanas, and spa facilities for as little as $25 to $50, enjoying a 5-star experience during the day while sleeping at your budget-friendly boutique home base at night. Summer 2026 doesn't have to be the year you canceled your vacation. By closing the airline tabs, leaning into the journey, and exploring the incredible depth of the destinations right here at home, you can have a summer that is richer in stories and beautifully light on your wallet. Drop a comment below and let me know where your summer road trip is taking you this year. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more budget hacking strategies. And as always, keep traveling smart. I'll see you on the next road.